The persistent rain made Seattle feel even lonelier that afternoon. The gray sky cast a somber veil over the world, as if time itself was holding its breath, waiting. When the taxi stopped in front of the wrought iron gates of the Whitmore mansion, Elena took a deep breath, trying to calm the anxiety gnawing at her chest. She stepped out with steady feet, though her heart raced wildly. She carried only one old leather suitcase, worn and scratched, but inside it held more than just clothes, letters, documents, and the key to a past she had sworn to leave behind. The Whitmore mansion was grand, yet hollow. Tall windows, stone walls, a perfectly trimmed garden, but without color, without flowers, as if joy had been banished from the grounds. When the gate opened, a man stood at the top of the porch steps. Tall, with defined features, unshaven, and eyes heavy with sorrow. It was Daniel Whitmore. "You must be Elena," he said, his voice hoarse as if each word carried weight. She nodded with a faint smile. "Yes, Mr. Whitmore. Thank you for having me. Daniel, just Daniel." He studied her for a moment, as if trying to see past her modest appearance. "My son is upstairs. I hope you have patience. He doesn't talk much since..." He didn't finish. He didn't have to. The silence said enough. Elena stepped inside the house, observing every detail. The dark furniture, the old paintings, the black and white photographs that seemed to hide more than they showed. Grief lingered in every corner, like it had become part of the decor. When she finally found the boy, something tugged at her heart. Lucas, just 6 years old, sat curled in the corner of the playroom, clutching a broken toy car. His eyes mirrored his father's, beautiful and burdened with sadness. "Hi, Lucas," she said gently, crouching beside him. "Can I play with you?" He didn't answer. He simply glanced at her, then looked away. She smiled softly. "That's okay. I'll just be here, if you change your mind." Elena knew how to wait. Years of hiding behind masks and half-truths had taught her the value of silence. Deep down, she recognized that pain. The pain of losing someone, of not knowing who to trust anymore. That night, when the house had fallen asleep, Elena sat by the guest room window, watching the rain fall. She pulled from her suitcase a small silver box, locked with a number combination. Her fingers hovered over the digits. She could open the secret right then, but it wasn't time yet. Outside, the mansion slept, but inside, 2 broken hearts were slowly beginning to find each other. The next morning, the sun tried to break through the heavy clouds, but the light that filtered into the mansion was still cold and distant. Elena woke up early. Despite the comfort of the guest room, she couldn't relax. She had been there less than 24 hours, yet she could already sense that the house held more secrets than its silence let on. The kitchen was spacious and modern, but barely used. The fridge was almost empty. Coffee seemed to be brewed for just one person. As Elena reached for a mug, she noticed a picture frame face down on the counter. Discreetly, she turned it over. A photo of Daniel, Lucas, and a serene-looking woman. His wife, or rather his late wife. Daniel appeared shortly after, wearing a dark blazer, still carrying heavy dark circles under his eyes. "I have a meeting today. I'll be back late," he said. "Of course, I can take care of Lucas, no problem," Elena replied. He hesitated before leaving, looking at her with something between caution and hope. Lucas, on the other hand, remained locked in his own world. During breakfast, he barely touched his food. He kept staring out the window as if waiting for someone to arrive. "Did you like playing in the garden?" Elena asked gently. Lucas nodded slightly but said nothing. "Did Mommy play with you there?" He didn't respond immediately. But, for the first time, he whispered, "She used to sing to me every time it rained." Elena felt her chest tighten. There was so much longing packed into that little boy that it was almost tangible. Later, while Lucas colored on the living room rug, Elena wandered through parts of the house. Every hallway seemed to hold unsaid sighs, interrupted stories. There were locked doors, drawers with little padlocks and an attic stairway that creaked at the lightest touch. She didn't want to intrude, but something in the house felt like it was calling to her, as if a truth was waiting there, to be found. That afternoon, after returning from school, Lucas surprised Elena. "Are you going to leave too?" he asked softly. She knelt down, looking him in the eye. "No, Lucas, I promise I'm staying. For you." He hugged her, for the first time, and in that quiet embrace, Elena felt something shift inside her. For the first time in a long while, she felt needed. But upstairs, inside a locked drawer in Daniel's office, there was a letter, with her name on it, and he still didn't know whether he should give it to her. The Whitmore house grew even quieter at night. The sound of the old clock in the hallway echoed through the walls like a constant reminder that time moved slowly there, dragged down by absence. Elena was no stranger to silence, but this one felt different. It had weight. It held secrets. On the third night, something woke her, a low sound, barely audible, coming from the hallway on the second floor. She got out of bed and walked quietly, her bare feet barely making a sound on the wooden floor. The hallway light was off. But as she neared Daniel's office, she heard voices, a muffled conversation like someone speaking on the phone, or with their own past. She leaned against the wall and listened. "She reminds me of her," Daniel said, "but I can't make the same mistake. Not again." Silence. "I know she's hiding something, but for some reason, I trust her, and that scares me." Elena stepped back, her heart racing. He was talking about her. He sensed something was off. She had never told him the truth, about her wealth, about why she was really there. She had run from the world of the wealthy, the coldness of business, the hypocrisy of appearances. But how much longer could she keep pretending? The next morning, Daniel acted as if nothing had happened. But Elena noticed. His gaze had changed. It was more intense, watchful, as if he were searching for clues in her every move. Meanwhile, Lucas was opening up. He played more, laughed occasionally. One day, he handed her a drawing. It was a portrait. Daniel, Lucas, and Elena. She held the paper in trembling hands. "I drew you because now you're part of our family," he said. Elena almost cried, but she held her smile. That night, sitting alone in her room, she picked up her phone and typed a message. She didn't send it. She deleted it, but the words stayed in her mind, like a silent confession. Can I love someone who still lives with the ghosts of the past? Would he love me if he knew who I really am? Downstairs, Daniel was still awake, and he held the letter with her name on it in his hands, still unsure whether he should open it. The mood in Seattle remained heavy, as if the city itself mourned alongside the Whitmore house. In the following days, Elena and Daniel crossed paths more often. Lingering glances, extended silences, restrained gestures. There was something between them, but neither dared to name it. One evening, after putting Lucas to bed, Elena went to the house's library. She was looking for something to read, but found Daniel there, sitting in a leather armchair, a glass of whiskey in hand, eyes lost in thought. "Do you like silence?" he asked without looking away from the fireplace. "Sometimes, but not all silence is peace," she replied. He looked at her for the first time that night. There was pain in his eyes, but also genuine curiosity. "You have a strange kind of calm, like you've lived too much for someone so young." Elena gave a faint smile. How could she explain she had lived enough for 3 lifetimes? Business, betrayal, inheritances, and an ex-fiancé who only wanted her money. "And you carry an old kind of sorrow," she said gently. Silence fell between them again, but this time it was comforting. Daniel stood and offered her a glass of wine. She hesitated, then accepted. They toasted without words, and for a moment the world felt a little lighter. That night, Elena returned to her room with trembling hands. She was allowing herself to feel. She was falling in love. But deep in her suitcase, her phone vibrated. A message from a number she knew too well. Your location has been discovered. The press is getting close. Come back before it's too late. She closed her eyes. The real world was closing in, and time to hide who she truly was running out. It was Saturday morning when Lucas pulled Elena by the hand to the end of the second-floor hallway. His eyes sparkled differently, like he was about to share a big secret. I want to show you something, but don't tell Dad. Elena smiled, warmly. I promise. Lucas stopped in front of a locked door. He retrieved a key hidden behind a picture frame and handed it to her. It's Mommy's room. She hesitated. It felt too private. But something in Lucas's eyes, he needed to share this. When they opened the door, the air inside was still as if no one had entered in years. The room was pristine. A desk with letters, perfume still on the shelf, framed photos of a life cut short. Lucas sat on the bed, picked up a music box, and turned the key. The melody filled the room with a melancholic sweetness. She used this when she sang to me. Elena sat beside him, moved. While Lucas was distracted with trinkets, Elena walked over to the desk. As she bent down, something slipped from her pocket unnoticed, a gold bank card with her real name engraved on it. Later, Daniel walked into the room unexpectedly. He found Lucas asleep in Elena's arms, and on the floor, the card. He picked it up, read the name, and his heart raced. Elena Marlowe, the name he had seen years ago in business magazines. The heiress who disappeared. The Seattle sky seemed to mirror the storm inside Elena. Heavy clouds signaled an approaching downpour, but she hardly noticed. Her heart had been offbeat since the visit to the late wife's room, and ever since the golden card had gone missing. She tried to act normal throughout the day. Made Lucas a snack, read him stories, laughed at cartoons, but Daniel didn't show up all morning. When he finally came down for dinner, something had changed. He was too calm, too observant. I need to talk to you, he said, voice steady but low. Elena swallowed hard. She felt it. The moment she feared most was here. Can we walk? It's about to rain, but I need some air. She nodded. They stepped out into the garden, wind already picking up. The sky was darkening fast. Daniel walked slowly, as if choosing each step, each word carefully. I found something today. Something that shouldn't have been there. He stopped, pulling the gold card from his pocket. Does this belong to you? Elena froze. Her throat went dry. Time seemed to halt. Daniel, I can explain. Elena Marlowe, he interrupted. I know that name. You vanished 3 years ago, the heiress who walked away from everything, and now you're a nanny. She took a deep breath, trying to hold back tears. I had to run. From people, from pressure, from lies. The life I lived wasn't mine. I was never free. So I left. Chose to live like everyone else. And I found peace. Until now. The rain began to fall. First a light drizzle, then a cold, heavy curtain. Why didn't you tell me the truth? Because I didn't want you to see me like everyone else. Because for the first time, someone saw me for who I am. And I fell in love with that. Daniel said nothing. They stood there soaked, staring at each other, all the unsaid words flickering in their eyes. You lied to me, he said softly. I protected you. From me, from the world chasing me. But yes, I hid who I am. I just couldn't hide what I feel. Elena turned to walk away, but Daniel grabbed her arm. His eyes were torn. Anger, hurt, and love. I don't know if I can trust you, Elena. But I know. I can't stop thinking about you. And as if the rain had silenced the world around them, he pulled her in and kissed her. A deep, urgent kiss. Full of everything they had been holding back for days. It was the kind of kiss that doesn't ask permission, that rises from chaos, that turns silence into truth. When they finally pulled apart, still breathless, Elena whispered, "Now you know who I am. The question is, what will you do with it?" Daniel didn't answer, but in that kiss was the answer. The morning after the kiss, the tension between Daniel and Elena was palpable. Everything seemed normal on the surface. Coffee served, Lucas playing with his toy cars, but inside, a silent storm was brewing. They avoided looking at each other too long, as if what happened the night before might ignite the room, but the explosion came from elsewhere. Around noon, Daniel received an urgent call. His expression changed instantly. He ended the call sharply, took a deep breath, and walked straight to Elena, who was helping Lucas with a puzzle. "We need to talk. Now." In the office, he faced her with the same gaze from the night before, but now there was something else, fear. "You're in the news." Elena went pale. "The press found out where you are. Gossip blogs, business sites. Runaway heiress reappears as nanny in Seattle suburb. It's everywhere." She sat down, weak. She knew this moment would come, just not this soon. "They're outside already. I saw 2 cars parked since morning, and I got a call from one of your former business partners." She closed her eyes. The world she had left behind was back, and hungry. "Daniel, I didn't want this to affect you. I tried to keep all of it away from you and Lucas. But now it involves us. It's not just your secret anymore. It's my house. My son." That last line cut deep. Elena stood slowly. "I can leave." "Is that what you do, run?" She held back tears. "No, I came here running, yes, but I stayed for you, for Lucas. I fell in love with this house, this quiet. And now, I'm fighting everything I used to be. But maybe that's not enough." Daniel looked at her, eyes brimming. For the first time, vulnerable. "I just wanted to know you. The real you. No layers, no masks." She stepped closer, took his hand. "Then see me now. This is who I am. Elena Marlowe. But not the one they write about. The one who sits on the floor with your son. The one who learned how to breathe again within these walls." Outside, camera flashes lit up the windows. The truth had been set on fire. And now, it was burning everything around them. The Whitmore house, once a haven of silence and healing, now felt under siege. Outside, reporters took turns trying to capture a photo, a quote, any reaction. Inside, Daniel and Elena lived through the most painful silence of all. The one born of disappointment. Since the public reveal, Daniel had avoided her completely. Their last conversation had ended the moment journalists surrounded the property. Elena still stayed in the guest room, but her nights had become hollow, and her days colder. Lucas noticed. "Why don't you play with me anymore?" he asked. One gray afternoon, Elena swallowed back her tears. "I'm here, Lucas, I always will be." But he shook his head, confused. "Did you lie to Daddy?" The question hit Elena like a punch. "I hid something important, but I didn't lie about how I feel. I love your dad, and I love you." Lucas went quiet, then ran to his room, leaving Elena alone with a pain too large to hold. Later, she decided to confront Daniel. "I need you to tell me what you feel." He looked at her, eyes tired. "I feel like everything I was rebuilding collapsed." "And you think I don't feel the same?" She shot back firmly. "You think hiding my name was easy? That living a simple life far from everything was some whim?" "No, Daniel, it was the only way I could survive. You had the choice to run. I didn't get that option when I lost my wife." His words pierced deeply. But Elena didn't back down. "And yet, I stayed, even when everything began to fall apart." Daniel rubbed his face, exhausted. "I don't know what to believe. Believe in how your home changed, in how Lucas smiled again, in how you started living again." For a moment, Daniel wavered, but the hurt still held more weight. "I need time." Elena nodded, eyes brimming. That night, she wrote a letter. "If there's no space for me here anymore, I'll understand. But know this. Loving you both made me richer than any fortune I ever inherited." She folded the note gently, left it on the kitchen table, and walked out without a sound. The next morning came with a different kind of silence. It wasn't the silence of doubt or hurt anymore. It was the silence of absence. Daniel walked into the kitchen and saw the envelope on the table. For a moment, the world stood still. He recognized Elena's handwriting before even touching the paper. With trembling hands, he opened the letter. Daniel, when I walked into that house, I was a woman running from everything, from a name, from a fortune, from a life that seemed like mine but never really belonged to me. What I found there in that quiet mansion scarred by grief was something no amount of money could ever buy. I found a boy with sad eyes who taught me the value of patience. I found a man in mourning who showed me that love is still possible, even when the heart is shattered. You don't know how much you've changed me. Taking care of Lucas, hearing his timid giggles turn into laughter, watching you learn to smile again. It gave me something I never had, belonging. But I don't want to be a burden. The truth that exploded over us was my fault. I never meant to deceive you, but I hid because the world wouldn't let me just be Elena. If there's still a place for me there, I'll wait for your sign. But if it's too late, I'll keep this memory as the truest chapter of my life. With love, Elena. Daniel read the letter 3 times, silently, then sat down, head in his hands, overwhelmed by the weight of everything he had held back. That moment, he realized, she had left, out of love. Lucas walked into the kitchen shortly after, still in his pajamas. His eyes searched instinctively for Elena. Where's Lay? Daniel knelt down, lifted him into his arms, and showed him the letter. She had to go, son. But she said she wouldn't leave. Daniel fought back tears. Sometimes we leave to protect the people we love. Lucas thought for a moment, then held the letter tightly to his chest. Does she still love us? Daniel smiled, eyes brimming. More than anything. And in that moment, he knew. There was still time. 3 months had passed since Elena left. The Whitmore mansion, though quieter, still carried traces of her presence. The soft scent in the guest room, Lucas's drawings carefully kept, the music box still resting on the shelf. Daniel carried, returned to work, to routine. But something in him had changed. He no longer wore grief the same way. And that, he knew, was because of her. One autumn afternoon, while picking Lucas up from school, he was caught off guard. Daddy, can I show you something? Lucas pulled an envelope from his backpack. Inside, a drawing. The same image as before. Him, his dad, and Elena. But now something new. A sun above them, and they were all holding hands. Someone's still missing, right? Daniel smiled. His son hadn't forgotten, and neither had he. That night, on impulse, Daniel wrote an email. Short, honest. The place is still yours. If it still belongs to your heart, come home. He didn't know if she'd read it or reply, but he had to try. 2 weeks later, on a rainy Sunday, Daniel and Lucas were in the living room, doing a puzzle. The doorbell rang. Daniel froze. He opened the door slowly, and there she was. Elena. Soaked from the rain, but with eyes more alive than he remembered. She carried only one suitcase, and a look that blended fear, hope, and love. I read your message, she said, barely above a whisper, and my heart never left this place. Before he could speak, Lucas ran into her arms. I knew you'd come back. Elena dropped to her knees, hugging him tightly, tears in her eyes. Daniel stepped forward, cupped her face in his hands. Never run from someone who loves you, only if it's to run toward you. They kissed right there in the rain in the middle of the living room, as if the world had waited for this very moment. That night, Elena didn't sleep in the guest room, and the next day, Daniel appeared, on the news beside her, not as the billionaire heiress on the run, but as the woman who chose love over everything. Because in the end, Elena's greatest fortune wasn't what she inherited, it was what she found.